it was so exciting because it was finally happening. When I was a freshman and decided to come to Memphis, one of the things they said is, we're going to start a soccer team. And I remember thinking how exciting that was, and I wanted to try it. I had some offers to play basketball at some smaller schools and decided to come to Memphis to take a leadership scholarship, and was looking forward to starting the team. So I was thinking, it's finally here. And I'd kind of had the best of both worlds in that I'd been able to do the sorority thing and the student council and run for student government and be in a lot of leadership roles, but then had this opportunity as a senior to step onto a D1 program. So it was tons of excitement.
I'd say two main things was, well, one, Memphis obviously has always been a great soccer program. Always contenders for national tournament, conference championship. But most importantly, it was at the time the people. I always remember when Coach Brooks and Coach Johnny reached out, and as a goalkeeper, I think your goalkeeper coach is very important. So when I felt that Johnny could really help me be the best version of myself, I think that made the decision pretty easy. And in addition of that, then we also had a lot of Canadians and a lot of international. So at the time, I didn't really speak English, and it made the transition easier to also know that some of my teammates would be able to support me in that.
So when I got here my freshman year, which was the fall of 2016, we were kind of coming off of a not great season the year before. And I think everybody was like kind of motivated to have a better season and kind of bring the level of the program up. And so I think that spring before I got there, there was a lot of work done in the off season. And like a lot of leadership change that kind of benefited the program. And so when I got there, I felt like it was very like established, kind of everybody was pretty established in their positions. So that was hard for me to like feel out just the experience of college soccer. But that year we ended up getting an at-large bid, and we unfortunately lost in the first round of the NCAA tournament, but that was, I think, the first year we got an at-large bid. And I feel like that was kind of like the beginning of a different kind of era for the program, because I think since then we've only missed like one or two NCAA tournaments.
So actually in the spring of '95 is when we got rolling, and I was a senior at that point, so that was kind of interesting. There was a hodgepodge of girls already on campus. I was the oldest of that crew with a couple other girls that were seniors as well. And it was so funny actually, because we all went out on the field thinking, all right, we're going to do this, we can do this. And literally, some of us had played a lot of soccer, some of us had not played much, and just thought, well, they're starting a team, why not try it? So we had a ton of fun even in that spring tryout. We had no idea the talent that Coach was bringing in for the actual next season, but it was a lot of fun in that spring just to get together and, quote unquote, try out, which I think they were looking for bodies in some ways to fill out a roster. So that was a fun time. And then came in that summer, and the really funny thing about the summer is those of us that had been there, grown up here, were completely adjusted to the heat. And that first preseason in August, it was 104 degrees, and we were running around the track on South Campus. And we had 3 players from Canada, we had players from St. Louis, from all over, and one by one they were dropping off, throwing up in garbage cans, running, because they just weren't acclimated to anything with the humidity levels and heat that we had. And those of us that had been here or had grown up in it, kind of kept trucking and doing our thing. So we laughed about that for years afterwards, just that first season for those players that had not been around Memphis in the heat.
The biggest difference wasn't the talent on the team, but it was the high standard. We felt like we were sisters. We loved hanging out with each other off the field, and we had a good time. But then when it was time to work for each other on the field, there was no question about that. So it's hard to explain, just really willing to work and do whatever it takes for the girl yet next to you. And I think that's what makes the entire difference in terms of, whether you're going to have a great season or you don't, because we always have talent. But that connection was special in terms of expecting excellence out of yourself, but then also out of the teammates that were standing next to you.
I feel like all props to everybody on the team right now, but it kind of hurt my heart when I wasn't on the team anymore and they did so well. But I had to tell myself and like my other teammates that also graduated, like we helped them we kind of guided them to where they are now, and now they're doing amazing, and it's so fun to watch them. So I feel like really thankful that I was kind of a part of the beginning of that, and kind of the leader of kind of bringing that program, and not just us, but also like the coaches, everybody involved in our team and our program, kind of helping the program improve each and every year.
Well, it's incredible. I mean, Brooks has done a phenomenal job. He's continued to recruit incredible players. You know, we laugh now because I would have never made this team, never, not in the last couple of years. I was a good high school player, but the skill level and the pace at which these girls play, that's what we stand on the sidelines at the alumni event and say, I couldn't, catch this girl if I tried, or I couldn't work this footwork. So just seeing it expand and grow is so exciting from our perspective. And it's fun to know that, we kind of started that in our little hodgepodge, as I said, in that spring before. But for them to be where they are now is phenomenal. Soccer aside, I mean, that's incredible as a soccer player, but soccer aside, just what women's athletics continues to kind of grow and bold. I spent the last 22 years in women's athletics as an athletic director, and so seeing the opportunities and the life lessons and the things that this teaches the girls, it's incredible to think that, from when I started based on now, there are millions more girls involved than when we started and when we were playing. And now the excitement around little ones watching, as you said, like the World Cup and the national team play is a phenomenal, just great to see, and to know that all those young women have an opportunity, the little bitty girls up through, now professional leagues.
It's honestly, I don't think you really think about that when you're younger. And I'm from Canada, where in Quebec back in the days, it was not necessarily people were still hesitating. Should I go to the state? Should I not? And it was a lot of unknown. And for me, my mentality was always there's no limits. I can do whatever I put my mind to. And it's pretty special now looking back and knowing that it could have seen out of sight, but just going one step at a time and meeting the great people along the way, and being the best person you can be every day, and how far that can lead you in terms of playing and then now coaching. And it's pretty unbelievable to just look back and realize that it's the daily actions that really made that happen, and then the people I had around me.
I think it's pretty cool to see how, as I've grown up, how the game has changed and how much bigger it's gotten. I think just last week I just saw something about the U.S. national team signing a new collective bargaining agreement for equal pay between the men's and women's national teams. And so the fact that kind of happened at the end of my career versus the beginning of the year, or by the beginning of my career, it was everybody thinks of the 99ers winning the World Cup, and that was kind of the beginning of it. And so I feel like my lifespan has kind of seen all of those incredible changes and the incredible feats that women's soccer players, and especially the women's national team, has accomplished. I think that's been motivating for me just throughout the years.
I hope that the integrity of Title IX stays true. I know there's been lots of lawsuits over the years, even from the 70s. And I think the opportunities for the girls is so important. I want to continue to see the programs grow, but again, having watched little bitty girls start in a sport, regardless of the sport, and then grow through the high school years, not just the talent that they acquire, but what they become and what they learn in that time frame. There's stats out there about Fortune 500 CEOs that are female, and so many of them are former athletes. And those that are in, some of the highest boardrooms around the world were former D1 athletes. So I think just having the opportunity for them to be involved in team building and the adversity that comes with being part of a team that fails sometimes. And we had some bad losses in a couple of our seasons, and we had some great wins. And you learn to come alongside people of all different races and nationalities and spiritual backgrounds and all kinds of stuff. And when you can do that and come together on a team for a common goal, you learn so much about yourself as well as what you do, other people.
It's so inspiring. And you know, Title IX is I'm so grateful for the people who came before me. And I want to make a difference for the people that are going to be after me. And I think there's no better time to be a young woman soccer player. I see the game just growing and growing. If we look in the last two major tournaments, there's been record attendance, whether it's in Europe, in the US, and Canada, all around the world, really. And you can see the passion is growing for the women's game. People are showing up. People want to be a part of it because one, it's fun to watch, but two, you know, it's also young ladies realizing that they can achieve their dreams and that it's possible for them as well. So really, I see more professional leagues. I see more opportunities for young ladies coming out of college to go play pro. And I think it's only going to go up and forward from here for the women's game.
Soccer, just not just collegiate soccer, but women's soccer in general, I think it's kind of set the standard for women's sports, and it's kind of been like a forefront, like a front runner in like change in women's sports. And so I think we'll see more sports from like basketball or women's swimming, or I don't even know, just all other different kinds of sports kind of follow that lead, because any accomplishment for women, like a women's sport, a woman in sport, is an accomplishment for everybody in women's athletics. So I feel like we'll see a lot of development like that has trickled down from the things that women's soccer players have done.
It means everything. That's why I do it. You know, looking at my time back at Memphis, it just shaped me into who I am. The highs, the lows, the challenges, you know, learning to do things that you're not good at, learning to be uncomfortable. And I think life is about growth and is about learning. And you know, those 4 years really opened a lot of doors for me. And my goal is to really give back, and the opportunities that I had coming to Memphis, coming to the States, and starting my collegiate playing career, but then my coaching career. Essentially, this is what I want to give back. I want to grow the women's game, and any part that I can play in that to give more opportunities to the next generation, so that those young ladies can accomplish even more than what I'm doing right now is really the goal, because my life defensively wouldn't look like it is today without those 4 years at Memphis, and without amazing coaches that were able to shape me into who I am today.
Gosh, so many of them. I've been so proud. I was born and raised in Memphis, and so some people said, why'd you stay in Memphis? I love Memphis. And as crazy as things are right now, there's so much potential and so much happening in the city. And there's a grit and a resiliency here that I think is reflected in the university. And, you know, I love one of our very first season, 1995, September 22nd, actually. We beat Evansville in our very first season. They were a national powerhouse in soccer, and I think that was 2 days before my 21st birthday, which was a heck of a party for those few days with my teammates. But that alone tells you that, you know, we all put on our cleats the same way. We all put on our socks the same way, shin guards in. You can play with anybody. You have to believe in what you're doing, and you're going to fail, and you have to be able to get back up and keep doing what you're doing. We lost games prior to that, but to come out and then beat this, you know, national powerhouse was pretty phenomenal.
I guess if I had to pick a single memory or day, it would be winning a conference championship in Florida, in Tampa, Florida, and beating USF at their home field. But I think that the reason that was probably my favorite memory is because of the relationships I had with my teammates, and I still have relationships and friendships with them. I still keep in touch with almost all of them. So that's kind of the reason why college athletics is so special, and that's why I miss it so much as well.